Hey, we're moving into tight ends, familia. Hey, it's we got El Doctor here. We're gonna just jump right into it. And this guy was on national TV on Thursday Night Football, and we saw him unlike we've ever seen him on a football field before, in sweats. So Travis Kelce, that hyperextended knee, we've heard everything from wait and get, as long as it takes, that he could be back next week. His brother was even predicting that he might play, in week one. What's his outlook?
So you've had guys in the past who've come back, and Travis Kelce dealing with the bone bruise after the hyperextension. We've had guys who have pushed to come back 1 week, and then surprisingly, the following week they're not active either. And so that's kind of what we're dealing with Travis Kelce. Is we assume because he was pushing and it seemed and it felt like it was close. We can't necessarily make that assumption, but we can sort of go based off of precedent. I think at worst, Travis Kelce's back by week 3. This mini buy is really going to help his chances of being back by week 1. We know that this little bone bruise issue, I don't want to call it a little bone bruise issue because they're extremely painful, but this bone bruise issue does have a chance to clear up within 2 to 3 weeks. His age doesn't necessarily help him, but again, these are typically a 2 to 3 week thing. We know that it's not super severe. That would have came out by now. You just have to give the bone time to heal. And again, because we assume that he was close this week, I think week 2, there's a decent chance. There are 2 examples in my head right off the bat of guys that have hyperextended their knee and how much time they missed. George Kittle was one, and he missed 2 games. And Ezekiel Elliott was another. He missed 2 games as well. So the 2-week timeline is I think, a reliable one. This is generally what you see with these guys. And man, I'm making aggressive offers to go get Travis Kelce if your league mates are scared. If something's going on, I mean, I tweeted this out. I heat check. You mentioned Matt Harmon earlier. I heat checked Matt Harmon in one of the leagues that we're in together. I sent him an offer of Amari Cooper and Dallas Goedert for Travis Kelce the morning after the news came out that he had a bone bruise. And Harmon's sharp. He said he follows Edwin Porras on Twitter and told him not to panic about Travis Kelce. Declined my trade, dashed my dreams. But if you are out there and you know that your Travis Kelce manager is panicking, go make an offer for Travis Kelce and get him.
No, that one's interesting. But considering he's been so bulletproof throughout his career, he's never missed since his rookie year. He has never missed a game due to injury. He's sat out a couple times for the end of the season when they'd already clinched. When a guy gets the field taken away from them, and you deal with this with the athletes up close and personal, what kind of can you describe a little bit of the hit it takes to the psyche?
I see a lot of guys that have never been injured, and there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of pent up frustration. There's a lot of fear, and I think some of that is healthy. I think it's normal. Maybe I shouldn't call it healthy. It's normal. Uh, Guys get injured, and all of a sudden you take away the only thing that they've known how to deal with, or what to do. The only thing that they've done their whole life, right? And some guys you think to yourself, oh, it's 1 or 2 games. What's the big deal? Don't be such a baby. But again, he's 34 years old. You mentioned how much time he hasn't missed because of injury. So he's probably fought through something that he feels, I'm sure, things that have been worse. So he's probably frustrated. He's probably even more upset that they lost the game. He knows if he was out there, they probably would have won that game. He knows all these things. And so there's that feeling that they, even let the team down, which is, I think, absurd. Obviously, there's nothing they could have done about that. So I think it's just a reminder. It's a good question because just a reminder that these dudes are real humans. They have real emotions. They look like gladiators out there, but they come into the training room. They bare their soul to the ATs and to the PTs that are in there. And I think that shot of Patrick Mahomes in the one of the playoff games last year, where he's leaning into Rick Burkholder and just like leaning into him, wincing in pain. Like that's the type of relationship that they build with the medical staff. So just a reminder, they are human. They're not just fantasy points on your phone screen.
All right. Well, another human, though a lot of times we call him Mandrews, Mark Andrews. He's unfortunately he's dealing with an injury. What prognosis for Sunday?
Yeah, so Mark Andrews is dealing with some quad tightness, and he says, and I quote, "God willing, I'll be out there on Sunday." So language is kind of interesting, but he has been limited in practice. Usually, guys, when they're limited, they do end up playing Now, the Ravens aren't necessarily the most trustworthy organization in terms of the injury report, but I do think that he's going to be out there. And the bottom line is you have to start him. Make sure you keep eyes on our Twitter feeds at Jorge Martin 17 at FB Injury Doc to make sure that he is on the field on Sunday. But it does seem like he's going that direction. You have to absolutely start him. I wouldn't be too concerned. And again, another guy, if for whatever reason, somebody in your league is panicking about Mark Andrews, I would go out and try to acquire him aggressively.
Yeah, he's going to be such a focal point of this offense. And and he could be kind of like that zone beater against the Texans this weekend. So big one. Now, George Kittle. Dealing with an injury, people are going to say, "Oh, again, he's in." Now they're going to say he's injury prone. So I'm giving you the floor.
George Kittle is dealing with a groin issue. What we need to know on George Kittle, he's actually played quite a few games since entering the league. He hasn't really missed as many games. If you want to go Google it, go figure it out. You probably think he's missed 10 games a year. He does not. This is a groin issue he dealt with last year. He actually missed the first 2 games of the season last year with this specific injury. So it is a semi-concern at this point, not because of his knee, not because of his foot, not because of shoulder. The specific concern is the soft tissue groin, the muscle strain, that something similar that Kenneth Walker is dealing with. That is a semi-concern. Now, I say it's a semi-concern because I already wasn't taking a lot of George Kittle just because that offense is so unpredictable. I think that obviously it's impossible to really predict when George Kittle is going to go off. You're going to have some games where he goes 3 for 37, and there are going to be some games where he's 6 for 98 and 2 touchdowns, right? Like, we never know when those games are coming for George Kittle. And I'd rather have, especially at the tight end position, I understand you want those spike weeks, but in managed leagues, you need a little bit more floor than that. And maybe just go for ceiling, drafting, somebody late like a Chiga Okonkwo or somebody like that. Even somebody like a Sam Laporta, who played last night, looked pretty good for his first game. I just was not a George Kittle drafter. We know that he lived on touchdowns last year, and we know that efficiency can't stay up. In addition, now that he's dealing with this recurrence of a groin issue that could devolve because it's already a recurrence. It was a recurrence from last year. And then Kyle Shanahan came out and said that it was a recurrence from earlier this preseason too. So not looking great for George Kittle personally. I am looking to, get rid of him, maybe find a crazed 49ers fan, a rabid 49ers fan to trade him to. I don't really necessarily want a lot of George Kittle at this point.
Yeah, I've only got him in my Familia League, and though one of my primos is an avid George Kittle fan, so maybe.
Maybe so.
Last one, Darren Waller.
Dealing with some dealing with some hamstring tightness. So they specifically came out. There was a report that said it isn't necessarily from a specific day or an event. It is some tightness. What you worry about with tightness is for it to devolve into a straight up strain. Darren Waller has a history of hamstring issues. Last year, he was on the IR for the hamstring issue. I'm just going to read what I said in the injury prone draft guide and season long playbook last year, Jorge, because not till victory lap. This is not victory lapping an injury. This is to bring awareness to the fact that you can draft semi-intelligently and not get too out of hand with the guys that you're drafting, because injury histories, like you already mentioned, they do matter. So his injury history included a hamstring strain from last year, and here's what I said. Darren Waller has chronic knee and back issues, missed half of 2022 with a hamstring strain and turns 31 in September. The big-bodied tight end has not necessarily aged gracefully. Being the clear number 1 pass catcher for the Giants sounds so enticing, but it doesn't come without risk. As mentioned above with Keenan Allen, not many pass catchers since 2018 have been able to return successfully after a hamstring strain after 30 years old. Waller can still have some success, but don't forget the high recurrence rate of hamstring strains. Continue to draft Waller at ADP, but don't overdo it. And I said he was a significantly above average risk. I still view him that way. I think that he is a boomer bust. The category I place him in is boomer bust tight end. He's either going to give you wide receiver 2 numbers, or he's going to be out 2 or 3 weeks with this hamstring strain up and down, right? Just be ready for the roller coaster with Darren Waller and thank your lucky stars if that doesn't happen. So again, I don't have Darren Waller in a lot of places. I just didn't really find it necessary. I do think that maybe I'm going to miss out on him, but I don't think I'm going to lose a league because I didn't draft Darren Waller. I could be wrong. But at this point, if I have Darren Waller and I'm already committed, I'm already invested, I'm probably just holding pat.
Oh, that's wonderful. Hey, I can't add anything more because I was going to throw out you about the injury history, and you just nailed it. Let's close up shop. Vamos a cerrar para la semana. Muchas gracias everybody for joining us. Any parting words, mi amigo?
King Carlos, the Mexican candy of the week. King Carlos chocolate bars. The best chocolate bars you'll ever have. Milk chocolate. They also have a dark chocolate version. I like the milk chocolate version. I don't even like chocolate. But if you're going to have a King Carlos, go down to your local panaderia, carniceria, somewhere, find your local hood, your taco shop, ask them to hook you up with some King Carlos chocolate because you will not regret it.
Oh man. And you threw up panaderia. Any favorite panaderia from the panaderia?
No, I don't have like a favorite one, but I do like the conchas. I like the pink conchas. I was going to call them strawberry. I don't even know if they're strawberry. I've always called them that.
I've always
but
strawberry too.
A little pink concha with a little cafecito in the morning.
Oh, when I was a kid, I would dip mine into milk.
I'm 30 years old. I still do that, man. I still do that.
And though my mom still gets my girls porquitos, so that's their favorite. So man.
Awesome.
Oh well, let's close it up. Muchas gracias everybody for joining us. Have a great first week. Mucha buena suerte, unless you're playing either one of us. All right, salud.